All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Chase Carter Concept Podcast for September 22nd, Xbox Series X pre-order day. And guess what? I just got one. Woo! Very, very excited. A little bit. I like to dance. Not very often. I don't dance very often, but when I do, it's for a silly thing like an Xbox. Now, I want to take you through, this might just be a 20-minute, I'm excited about my life right now because I got a meaningless video game system that I probably could have bought a month after the system came out. But I don't want to wait a month. Now, I did pay $38 in taxes. I could have waited, got it at the MWR, at the on the military base. But I will pay the $38. I'll pay my taxes. I'm an American citizen. That's what I think I have to do. It is my right. It is my privilege. It's my privilege to pay taxes on a video game system for my country. I'm doing this for my country. Some people say I'm a hero, paying taxes. Some people don't pay taxes. Compared to them, for all those roads you drive on, you're welcome. Police officers, I pay your salary, you're welcome. But this is my history. So I played, obviously, I got the PlayStation 1 growing up. Good system. Heard the PS2 was coming out. Didn't really do anything for me. And then I heard this Xbox console was coming out. And I decided, I like that. I'm going to go with that. Granted, I was young. I didn't know anything about it. I heard the system was going to be a huge X with like a disc tray in the middle, which it pretty much was. The thing was gargantuan. Played the Xbox, fell in love with Halo, obviously, goes without saying. Splinter Cell, remember MechAssault? Get out of here. The online functionality of that system, Ethernet port built in, years ahead of Sony. Years ahead. They had their own baseball game. They had their own NFL Fever. Remember that? I think pretty sure they had their own baseball game. In fact, I can't remember the name of it. So now I'm doubting myself. They had NBA Inside Drive. Smooth animations. I remember doing a between the legs dunk on Yao Ming with Vince Carter. I remember that vividly. So many good games. And the memory never went below 50,000 blocks. Whatever the hell that meant. And then the Xbox would talk to you if you just left it idle. It would, all these little touches. 360 came out. Cheaper. Better than the PlayStation 3. Way better. Then the Xbox One came out and just took a huge dump on everything it built. All the cachet it built up with video game fans. And that's why I jumped ship. I got the Xbox on the day of launch. I got the 360 on the day of launch. And the One, I waited 2.5 years, 3 years after it came out to pick it up. After they got rid of, I can't remember his name doesn't even, the head of Xbox at the time. His name doesn't even need to be remembered. Man ruined everything. I'm just a little over dramatic right now. And then when I heard Phil Spencer, and Phil, we trust. Hey, Phil. Phil? Thank you. My trust has been restored. My video game. I don't care. I don't care about the exclusives. I don't care about any of that. I don't care. Build a console that plays games well, and that is reliable. That's the word. That's all I got. It's real simple. I don't care. Halo can go be on the PlayStation. I don't care. I'm gonna put my money where At least for right now, this is what Xbox is doing. They're opening everything up. Minecraft, yeah, we own it. You can play it on all the systems. Halo, yeah, we own it. You can play it on PC. We want as many video game fans to enjoy our video games. And trust, I think if they let PlayStation, if they wanted to, they'd let PlayStation have their games. Oh my goodness! And then I'm not even gonna speak. They just bought all of they bought they bought they own Fallout now. They own Doom. They own all of Wolfenstein. They own all of that now. And I hope they do not make it exclusive to the Xbox and PC. Let the PlayStation fans play Skyrim. Let them play the new Elder Scrolls game. Now, granted, I know. I think it goes against conventional wisdom to do that. You want to force people to buy your console, but I think they want people to buy Game Pass, obviously. And that's not a huge mystery. But I'm happy with my purchase. Yes, please. Yes, please. I pay $14 a month for Netflix. I'm going to get rid of Netflix and I'm going to buy Games Pass from now on. And I can play, I'll have all the games I've ever wanted. Oh, it's not made by, not Microsoft Studios? I'm out of here. I'm just a little excited. Just a little bit. Just their whole narrative, the direction of the company changed. They got arrogant. They thought people would just buy the Xbox because it's an Xbox. They wanted a camera built in. They wanted you to watch your sports on your Xbox, which is a fine sub whatever. It's a fine add-on to it. But the main reason should be video games. It's an Xbox. It's a video game. It's not a cell phone. Not a cell phone. Like if your cell phone wasn't an actual good phone, people wouldn't buy it. You have to be a good cell phone first, then add in all the other stuff. But whew, I'm a little pumped up right now. I apologize for being a little overexcited this week. I got my Xbox Series X pre-ordered, $538, and been saving up, been investing, and I could have bought a few. I'm not going to. Wanted to maybe buy more. One for my girlfriend. She doesn't need an Xbox Series X. All she does is play Sea of Thieves. It'll be fine on her Xbox One X. Excuse me. But I'm just a little excited. And by that time, EA Play is going to be in Games Pass. So I can play we can play Madden. Her and I can play FIFA. We can play Unravel 2. Dragon Age games now. All for the low price. I guarantee that Games Pass subscription has to go up. It can't be $14, even $20 a month is ridiculous. But they would have to keep it cheaper than a few games a year for it to be worth it. Because I know if you have, say, Xbox Live Gold for a year and then you buy Ultimate, it's $1 extra, but it carries on through that however long you have your Xbox subscription. So I did that for 2 years of Gold and I bought Ultimate, and so I get Ultimate basically for 2 years for $1. Basically I bought the Xbox Live Gold subscriptions online. So they were $50, I want to say. They were on sale. I think they're normally $60. I remember when it was $49.99 for Gold. $49.99. And then they released, I found, they used to have in every game on the original Xbox, they had the codes for 3 months of Xbox Live for free. Xbox Live Gold for free. So I used to create a new account every 3 months and just hop from Gold from 3 months to 3 months to 3 months to 3 months. So every game, basically, you'd save them up. Some games would be single-player games, and you wouldn't need gold. But man, but I think they stopped that in the 360 era, so I had to actually pay $50. There's all these little. Those were the days. Oh, and then I heard like the 360. There was like modded 360s. A few of my friends had them, where they played these modded Xbox Live games. You buy them off somebody like with a burn disc for $5 to $10. I remember that. I think that's going to the wayside a little bit with all this more advanced technology and hardware. I'm pretty sure there's ways to do it, but I don't think it's as easy anymore. But yeah, so I got the Series X, and I don't even think I'm gonna buy a launch game. I kind of want to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I can wait for that. I don't need it. I just want to play. Pretty much, I could have just not bought it because I'm going to play Sea of Thieves. I'm going to play NBA 2K20. I'm not going to buy NBA 2K21. I don't think it's going to be $70 worth of a game. And then you're also playing it for a month or two less. You're buying it in November when I could buy it now and play. That's what I didn't understand. So if you bought NBA 2K21 on your Xbox One for $59.99, it would play obviously on the Series X, but it wouldn't be the next gen version. You'd have to buy the $100 version of the current gen to get the next gen. So you're still paying $59 for the current gen, and then you're basically paying $40 for the next gen version. And that didn't really sit well with me. So you're buying the same game twice, but you're just getting a $20 discount. Or a $30 discount. It's like, how about I just skip both? Because those business practices I don't support. Just how I didn't support Xbox One when it came out. It's like, man, that PlayStation 4 looks really good. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a break. Take a break from it. Don't need to play all these games right now. Like, if a console doesn't speak to you, if the game company isn't speaking to you, if it's not doing business practices that you support, don't buy it. And everything Microsoft is saying, or Xbox is saying, Phil Spencer, I'm like, yep, I agree with it. Yep, I agree with it. Yep. And then PlayStation, or Sony, comes out and for a while pretends like all of these games are going to be on the Spider-Man is going to be a PlayStation 5 exclusive, and then Microsoft gets crap for saying, oh, you're holding back your console putting Halo on the Xbox One. And then it comes out, oh, that Spider-Man game, yeah, that's for the PlayStation 4 as well. And it's like, what? Are all of you politicians, are you all talking out of the sides of your mouth? Like, what's going on here? Microsoft was up front. They showed you the specs. They had little cool builds of it. They got all this positive attention. And then when Halo doesn't look like Doom, doesn't look perfect, everyone flips out. Yes, and it could have looked better. But what does looked better mean? And I don't know. With all of this stuff, with everything like these companies, they're obviously going to make money. That's besides the point. But all of these gamer-friendly initiatives they're doing, how could you not support them? They're making it easy. Easy on you. And I, for one, me personally, me for one, I'm going to support it. Put my quote-unquote hard-earned money down for an Xbox. I'll pay $500. No problem. $600. That would have been $599. Too much Xbox. I'm out. I'll wait for a discount. $499. Perfect price for what I'm getting. And technically, I don't even know what 12 teraflops does. Just make the Xbox UI better, quicker, faster. Yesterday I was on the Xbox and I tried to bring up the store, Microsoft Store, to see what was on sale and the deals, and I saw a whole bunch of question marks in the boxes where the video games are supposed to be. So maybe that's just a nice little rollout that got messed up. I have no idea. I don't know. But the first day I saw a little change, I was like, oh, that's a little weird. But I'm thinking this is going to be a good generation for the Xbox. No, last generation was good. They made a whole bunch of money. They just didn't make as much as Sony. And personally, I own a few shares of Microsoft, but I want them to do well. I don't want them to cater. But Microsoft isn't just Xbox. And Sony obviously just isn't PlayStation. But I own shares in both companies, like 4 or 5. It's not that big of a deal. But I just hope both, obviously, companies they don't kind of eat each other. And Microsoft came out, I remember, made a statement that they're not competing with Sony anymore. They're competing with Apple and Google. And that is kind of disrespectful to Sony, because you are competing with them as far as the video game console goes, but your service, the Netflix of video games, that's Game Pass, is going to be interesting. Is that going to be so forward thinking that it's going to be like Netflix? No one really knew what Netflix was until 10 years after. It was like, oh, it's a little DVD service. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. They're not it's not that big of a deal. They're Blockbuster through the mail. That's fine. Sorry, I had a huge sneeze there. Didn't want to record that. And then they had a streaming service, and people were like, oh, streaming, yeah, that's kind of cute, whatever. People won't. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Something new, people didn't really see the future of it. And working at Hollywood Video, all the managers saw the dip in business once Netflix became a streaming service. Well, Netflix just kind of took a chunk of their money at first, and then when the streaming service hit and became popular, my manager was like, yeah, they got about 5 to 10 more years left, Hollywood Video. And I worked at Game Crazy, and we went under because they went under. If we were just a video game store, we would have been fine. But now, video game stores are hurting just like Hollywood Video was hurting, and Blockbuster. And I remember, what interview was that I saw a few days ago? It was the head of Netflix, and he was talking about they wanted to sell Netflix. I guess Netflix wasn't, as it was coming up or whatever, but there was some trouble with something. I forget what he was talking about, but they offered to sell Netflix to the company that owned Blockbuster, and Blockbuster could have technically been Netflix, and they didn't do it. It was like for $50 million, and now it's a $1 billion company because I don't know if it was the CEO was talking on there. Some rich guy, I'm not sure, some incredibly wealthy man. He was saying, yeah, you can do all the business strategies you want and but has a huge deal of luck. Fortunate, a decision that you think is bad because they wanted to sell the company and no one wanted to buy it at the time for the asking price. And then they're like, oh, well, okay, we'll keep it. And then it just becomes, you just keep building and building and building, and it becomes this, gigantic service that most of America has that has good internet. I don't know. We'll see. We're going to see. But I'm excited. That'll be the first 20 minutes of the podcast. This is about my Xbox Series X victory today. And on November 10th, hopefully, Amazon will deliver that sweet rectangular box. That's sweet. It's so sweet. To my doorstep. And then I will play last generation games on it. And it's going to be awesome. Now let's get into news articles I found interesting. This was back in August. Amazon, this is tied to my Xbox One X. Hopefully it gets delivered by a drone. Amazon wins FAA approval for Prime Air drone delivery fleet. Let me scroll down here. Amazon received federal approval to operate its fleet of Prime Air delivery drones, the Federal Aviation Administration said on Monday, a milestone that allows the company to expand unmanned package delivery. The approval will give Amazon broad privileges to, quote-unquote, safely and efficiently deliver packages to customers, the agency said. The certification comes under part blah, blah, blah of FAA regulations, which gives Amazon the ability to carry property on small drones beyond the visual line of sight of the operator. So I'm guessing this will... I'm thinking in my head, the drones are either going to go from warehouses, obviously, to just houses. But say the Amazon Prime van pulls up to your place and they can't get past a certain area, and then they can just take a drone out, put a package in it, that drone, and then back to the van, and then on. Or they just have a whole bunch of drones in a vehicle, and then they park the vehicle in a certain area with so many packages delivered, and then the drones go out, drop the packages off, return, and then the van moves on to the next place. That would be... Obviously, they're not going to stop at every house to use the drone. I wonder what would be more effective. But anyway, Amazon said it will use FAA certification to begin testing customer deliveries. The company said it went through rigorous training and submitted detailed evidence that its drone delivery operations are safe, including demonstrating the technology for FAA inspectors. And quotes, this certification is an important step forward for Amazon Prime Air and indicates the FAA's confidence in Amazon's operating safely. Amazon's operating and safety procedures for an anonymous drone delivery service that will one day deliver packages to our customers around the world. That was a quote by David Carbon, Vice President of Prime Air. And then I wonder if Prime Air, if you get Prime Air, is it going to cost more? Is Prime going to, or is it already built into the price of it? We will continue to develop and refine our technology to fully integrate delivery drones into the airspace and work closely with the FAA and other regulators around the world. It's a regulator to realize our vision of 30-minute delivery. Jeez. Ooh. Amazon added that while Prime Air Fleet isn't ready to immediately deploy package deliveries at scale, it's actively flying and testing the technology. The company has zeroed in on drone delivery as part of a push to get packages quicker to Prime members. Since last year, Amazon has also invested billions of dollars to transition from 2 to 1 day delivery. Amazon began testing delivery drones in 2013, aiming to drop off packages at customers' doorstep in 30 minutes or less. Could you imagine? What world? We are living in the future. In August 2019, the company submitted a petition for FAA approval of those plans. In its petition, Amazon said deliveries would occur in areas with low population density and packages would weigh 5 pounds or less. So obviously the small things. The company debuted a new electric delivery drone at its 2019 Mars conference, MARS conference. Yes, that's how you spell Mars. That's capable of carrying packages under 5 pounds to customers within half an hour and can fly up to 15 miles. Amazon CEO of Worldwide Consumer said at the time that the drone would be used by the company within months to deliver the packages, and that was back. I said at the time. Yeah, that was months ago, I guess. 2009. Yeah, okay. Amazon isn't the only company seeking to expand its commercial drone delivery. Last April, Alphabet, Google-owned Wing, became the first drone delivery company to receive FAA approval for commercial deliveries in the U.S. UPS last October won approval from the FAA to operate a fleet of drones as an airline. So that'd be really, really cool to see Amazon packages flying around. Now, obviously, the technology, you don't want huge drones flying around in the airspace, but then does it really, we're dealing with the busyness of streets, and then a little drone comes in, drops off whatever you ordered. I don't know. I'm trying to think of the negatives of having it around. Obviously, if they fall and damage stuff, but they have insurance, so that's fine. If they drop and kill somebody, that's dangerous. But they drive cars around, and Amazon trucks have probably ran into and killed people. So, I mean, that's not a reason to stop it. I'm just trying to think of some negative thing that I'm not seeing right now. I don't see it. I don't see it. There is a cool with the ice cap, with ice melting around the world and the temperatures of the earth warming up. Global warming, it's a catastrophe. There's a bear that they think is 30,000 years old that's being unthawed, and this thing is in, like, its nose is still there, its fur is still there, its skin, everything. It's unreal looking. It's unreal. This is a cool, listen to this story. Internet. Old TV caused village broadband outages for 18 months. Yes, I don't want to read the ad. The mystery of why an entire village lost its broadband every morning at 7 a.m. was solved when engineers discovered an old television was to blame. An unnamed householder. Can you imagine how nervous he is? He's like, look, you can print the story, but please. People were irate. This man would be murdered. And I have no idea where this is. Oberhausen, and then P-O-W-Y-S, Powys, was unable to, so the unnamed householder was unaware that the old set would emit a signal which would interfere with the entire village's broadband. After 18 months, engineers began an investigation after a cable replacement program failed to fix the issue. The embarrassed householder, I can't say that, householder, promised not to use the television again. The village now has a stable broadband signal. OpenReach engineers were baffled by the continuous problem, and it wasn't until they used a monitoring device that they found the fault. The householder would switch their TV set on at 7 a.m. every morning, and electrical interference emitted by the second-hand television was affecting the broadband signal. The owner does not want to be identified, was mortified to find out their old TV was causing the problem. They immediately agreed to switch off it and not use it again. Engineers walked around. Now, if this happened in America, like, I have the freedom to use whatever TV I want. I don't care about any other. Engineers walked around the village with the monitor called a spectrum analyzer to find any electrical noise to help pinpoint the problem. At 7 a.m., like clockwork, it happened, said Mr. Jones. Our device picked up a large burst of electrical interference in the village. It turned out that at 7 a.m. every morning, the occupant would switch on their old TV, which would in turn knock out broadband for the entire village. The TV was found to be emitting a single high-level impulse noise, a shine, which causes electrical interference in other devices. Mr. Jones said the problem has not returned since the fault was identified. Suzanne Rutherford, OpenReach Chief's Engineers Lead for Wales, said anything with electrical components from outdoor lights to microwaves can potentially have an impact on broadband connections.
We just advise the public make sure that their electrical appliances are properly certified and meet current British standards. And if you have a fault, report it to your service provider in the first instance so we can begin the investigation. I just like how this old television just fucked with everybody's internet. I love, that is one of the funniest things. So I can imagine some old person trying to watch, I don't know, their soap operas. And then people, that are working from online can't use their internet. People who are trying to get porn, Can you imagine the frustration? People playing video games, watching Netflix, just can't do it because this old bastard has a TV probably from 1940. I don't even know when TVs were invented. That's good. Well, let's see. Back to the Future. No. Back to the Future, they were 1955. They were new. I can't believe I know history based off of a movie. 1950, maybe 1940s? Let me see this. Let me look this up live here. When were TVs invented? Not smart TVs.
Television was invented by Philo Farnsworth, John Logie Baird, and Charles Francis Jenkins.
3 people, huh? 3 men. 3 men. That's right. Or better. By 1920s, when amplification made television practical. So 1920s? The first electronic television was invented in 1927. Yeah, 1920 inventor named Philip Farnsworth. That inventor lived in a house without electricity until he was the age of 14. Fun fact. Okay. I see. Alright, so let's go back to the collections here. Why won't this work? Oh, the cat's meowing. The cat's meowing outside. She wants outside and then she wants back in. She wants outside and then she wants back in. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put this on pause. Stupid. Be right back. Alright, just so everyone knows, the cat is back indoors. She's safe. Aren't you, Unya? Yeah, didn't think so. Meow, 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 meow. This is an interesting sports article, I thought. Kevin Durant backs LeBron James as the MVP, calls for change in award criteria. This seems like a self-serving proposition, so let's go. The Lakers won Game 2 against the Nuggets in a thrilling fashion. LeBron James has been the guiding light in the playoffs, leading the purple and gold towards success, but there's still talks around the MVP snub and the criteria for the award. What are Kevin Durant's views on this? Kevin Durant himself won the MVP award back in 2004 when he had a monstrous scoring season. He was still at OKC and averaged 32 points a game to beat LeBron to the award. LBJ finished second in MVP voting. Is not a new thing, but this year LeBron has been one of the top performers during the regular season and has led the team in assists for the first time in his career. However, he received only 16 first-place votes, while the rest went to Giannis. Kevin Durant recently joined Joe Budden's podcast, where he had a chat about his return to the NBA and, of course, the MVP results. KD, for one, feels that voting criteria should not be restricted to the postseason alone. This is his quote. "The criteria is the regular season, but I understand. I feel the same way you feel. I feel they should evaluate the whole season, evaluate the playoffs included." That's not the season. That was my part. It continues here. If you include the playoffs, then Bron is easily the MVP. I see now why Giannis was the MVP. His numbers was crazy. What KD said is true. If the league based it on both the regular season plus the playoffs, Giannis wouldn't have got his second MVP. His team was sent home by the Miami Heat in the second round, whereas LeBron and the Lakers are looking strong in the conference finals. LeBron James has the backing of Lakers icon Shaquille O'Neal. One might tend to lean towards Giannis as the MVP for his outstanding performance. The Greek Freak averaged 29.5 points, 13.6 rebounds in the regular season, which are incredible numbers. He led Milwaukee to the league's best record for the second straight year. However, Shaquille O'Neal isn't convinced of this. The Big Diesel picked LeBron as his MVP purely because he was the better individual performer of the two. In a recent episode on Inside the NBA on TNT, the four-time NBA champ mentioned why King James really deserved to win it this year. LeBron is the best player in the world. So if you're the best player in the world, can you not be MVP? If you're the best player in the world, you should always get an MVP, period. LeBron James also spoke about his immediate reaction to the results and expressed his views on the voting criteria. Should the award criteria include playoff performances too, as Kevin Durant said? Now, I have a issue with this. So Shaquille O'Neal obviously wants, he's going to be on whoever's on the Lakers team side because he's a former Laker, which he kind of pushed his way out of becoming a Laker just by his own actions. But that's besides the point. And then when he won a championship in Miami, he talked shit to Kobe Bryant. As you do. As you do. And then they obviously made amends later. So yeah, but I have a point. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So if you have the better NBA season, they're not saying Giannis didn't have a better season, but they're talking about the playoffs. Then have a separate award, a playoff award. Have a playoff MVP, but then you would have to have a playoff MVP and a finals MVP, and most likely that will be the same person. Except for, random years. Like Iguodala won finals MVP, but he wasn't the MVP of the playoffs. That would be Steph Curry that year. So it would be different if they included all. Like, you could have the finals MVP become the playoffs MVP, and you would just have to incorporate the entire playoffs into that. So that would just be the best player on the best team award. That would make sense, but there has, in my head, there doesn't have to be anything, but the MVP award should be the player who had the best season and most likely on the best team. So I don't get what the issue is here, because it's not the leading scorer, because James Harden averaged 34.3 points. LeBron had 10 assists a game, which is incredible. He had 10 assists and 25 points. Giannis, 29.5 points, 5.6 assists, 13.6 rebounds. Giannis shot terrible from the free throw line. LeBron James was 69% this year. Giannis, 63%. So, what's their 3-point percentage? Giannis, 30%, LeBron, 34%. It's just kind of weird. Let's see, field goal percentage. Giannis, 55%. LeBron James, 49%. And then Giannis' team had a better regular season. But it was close before the league got shut down. LeBron was making that final push, so who knows what exactly would have happened. But just because Giannis is out of the playoffs right now, you don't get to go back retroactively, I think that's the right word, and then take the award away from him. Well, we know he's not the MVP since he lost in the second round to Miami Heat. Well, how do you know the Lakers wouldn't have lost to the Miami Heat? You don't know that. You assume that. No one would have assumed the Miami Heat would have beat him in 5 games, but then Giannis got hurt. But they were kind of beat before that. But who knows? Who knows? These playoffs are crazy. I don't know. But just to go back and to be so self-serving. But I heard LeBron make a good point that he got beat out for Defensive Player of the Year once by Marc Gasol, and that Marc Gasol was second-team defense. How can you be the best defender in the league and be on second-team defense? That's a good question. That's a legitimate question. But to have the MVP of the league be the MVP of the season and the playoffs, they're 2 separate basic seasons, basically. You can be a good, like James Harden. James Harden's a great regular season player. And then when teams can strategize for him, they can just take him out of a series. It's incredibly difficult, and you need elite athletes and elite players to do it, but you can do it. It's just kind of interesting that these players were talking like this. It's like, do you not know what the the MVP of the season means? Like, you guys aren't, I think, like, LeBron James isn't stupid. But even smart people can be blind to a lot of these things. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting, viewpoint. Here's another article by Vulture. Joe Rogan is already a headache for Spotify. When Spotify signed the Joe Rogan Experience, an exclusive multi-year distribution deal earlier in the summer, the company's stock price soared briefly, illustrating both the extent to which investors value its bet on exclusives, as well as Rogan's unlikely standing as a legitimate media phenomenon. But the move was prompted immediate questions about whether Spotify was prepared for what that media phenomenon brings with it. Sure, the Joe Rogan Experience commands an exceptional large following and a growing currency of cultural influence, but Rogan's radical free speech orientation and free thinking ideology have consistently courted controversy in the past. In particular, observers were curious to see how Spotify would navigate issues around misinformation and hate speech, the latter being a concept that Rogan himself has a history of actively interrogating in terms of his relationship with free speech. He's hate speech, I guess, huh? Two things happened over the past week that hint at the battles to come as discrete events. They don't quite push the point just yet, but they do sketch out the broad shape of what Spotify will have to deal with as it negotiates a new identity and set of responsibilities that come from its modern programming efforts. The first involves a brush with misinformation. On Thursday, Joe Rogan Experience published an episode with Douglas Murray, the conservative British political commentator, in which Rogan repeated a claim derived from a conspiracy theory that the left-wing people have been arrested for intentionally causing wildfires in Oregon. That conspiracy theory had already been debunked by several mainstream news sources by the episode's publication, and while Rogan's citation of the claim seemed to be more of an aside, contributing to the flow of the episode's conversation on Murray's madness of the crowd's idea, can't even talk. The whole thing nonetheless added up to a situation where a piece of misinformation, which might be inflammatory or harmful, depending on how you interpret the impact mechanics of misinformation, ended up being spread further by an extremely popular podcast and now being paid for, hosted, and distributed by a major audio streaming platform. Rogan's recitation of the conspiracy theory turns out to be inadvertent. And to his credit, Rogan issued an apology over his social media accounts the next day, explaining that he was misled by an article that he had read. Just like every other person on the planet, and including the people who probably write these articles. Good Lord. And then it quotes Joe Rogan's apology on Twitter, and he says, yeah, I apologize, I repeated it, I fucked up, it turned out to be true, but the other shit that I read, people arresting for lighting fires in Portland, was not true. I repeated it without looking into it. And he apologized, which is what people do. People understand that they're human beings, right? Oh, you're allowed to make mistakes and then apologize for. Oh, got it. Cool. That's really cool. That's really cool of society. Let people apologize. This incident, along with the apology, which has been recognized as being somewhat rare for Rogan. What he does this all the time. Anyways, this is how I know they don't watch the podcast or listen to it continuously. When he says stuff and realizes it's a mistake, he'll come out and apologize for it. And it won't be maybe an apology like this where he releases an independent video for it, but he'll say it in the podcast. He's like, I heard this story, and then I found out a few weeks later it wasn't true. He's like, I'm an idiot for believing that. But we all have to sift through this shit. Drew a good deal of coverage, yielding write-ups by CNN, Vanity Fair, and the left-leaning media watchdog site Media Matters, among other places. The fact that Rogan issued an apology appears to have nipped this specific incident in the bud for now, but it did nevertheless raise a question as to what would have happened if the situation turned out to be a little more complicated. What if the claim was murkier or less solidly debunked? Would Spotify have left the episode up? Yes, because if you can't solidly debunk something, you can't issue an apology for it. You can say, I heard, or there was this article that I read that stated, would Spotify have left the episode up? Would it have added contextualizing indicators on the platform? And what would Spotify's stance if a public criticism were levied at greater intensity and volume against Rogan? Would it feel moved to defend Rogan or to seek? There's just all of this stuff. I couldn't imagine being. It seems like they're trying to just get him off Spotify for some reason, but he's still able to talk. So I don't understand what the. And I don't think Joe Rogan's a headache. Is already a headache for Spotify. I think he's a huge moneymaker for them. I don't know. I don't know. Next article. Microsoft acquired Bethesda Softworks in $7.5 billion deal. ZeniMax Media acquisition brings Doom, The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and more to Xbox. Microsoft has acquired ZeniMax Media and publisher of Bethesda Softworks. The company announced Monday. Phil Spencer, in Phil we trust, head of Xbox, published a letter on Xbox Wire welcoming The Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Doom, Dishonored, and Quake franchises, as well as Starfield, and more to Microsoft. Let's see. Spencer said the acquisition is a landmark step for Microsoft. In a news release, Microsoft said it now has 23 creative studio teams, up from 15, making games for Xbox and PC. Microsoft will add Bethesda's games to Xbox Game Pass for console and PC as well. Microsoft also intends to add future Bethesda games to Xbox Game Pass the same day as they launch on Xbox or PC, specifically calling out Bethesda Game Studios' Starfield. We get it, day one. We get it, day one. One of the things that has me most excited to see the roadmap with Bethesda's future games, some announced and many unannounced. The Xbox console and PC included Starfield, the highly anticipated new space epic currently in development by Bethesda Game Studios. Pete Hines, Senior Vice President of Global Marketing and Communications at Bethesda, posted a separate letter on why the developer's website outlining why Microsoft is a good fit for the company. Hines said the company has a long history of working with Microsoft and will continue to make games as it always has. But the key point is we're still Bethesda, Hines wrote. We're still working on the same games we were yesterday, made by the same studios we've worked with for years, and those games will be published by us. Hines added that Microsoft acquisition will allow Bethesda more resources to innovate and to grow. Microsoft acquisition of ZeniMax Media, the Bethesda Softworks, unites Fallout publisher and Fallout New Vegas developer Obsidian Entertainment under the same company. Also of interest, Bethesda has 2 games slated as timed exclusives from Microsoft's competitor Sony, published by Bethesda. Arcane Studios' Deathloop and Tango Gameworks' Ghostwire Tokyo are expected to be timed exclusives when they are released on PS5 next year. Polygon has reached out to Microsoft for clarification. Microsoft's next-gen console, the Xbox Series X and the Series S, will release on November 10th. Pre-orders for the new Xbox consoles open Tuesday, September 22nd. That's today. And I got one. I already talked about it, so I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But I already talked about it. So I can't imagine. I'm going to go over. I can't imagine the games being exclusive. If they really wanted to make a big dick move, they could. But it's going to be on Xbox and PC anyway. So what is the... I don't know. Just release the games. I don't know. Because would you lose out? Would the amount of people coming over and getting Game Pass be equal to the amount of money you would sell if you would sell the next Elder Scrolls on PlayStation and getting... Because Microsoft will make money off of that, just how Sony made money off Blu-ray drives in the Xboxes. So there's that. So what... You'd have to obviously know the business way more than I do. Just kind of interesting. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is a interesting event that got brought up. There is a basketball, sports analyst, Maria Taylor. She works for ESPN. She played college basketball, and she got a vote for the NBA awards. And she was criticized because she left Anthony Davis off the first, second, and third team. So that's basically saying Anthony Davis isn't in the top 15 player, or the top, say, 6 at his position, which he is. He's the first or second best power forward in the league, power forward, center, however you want to mix and match it. So she got criticized for it, and a man asked, "What are your credentials for getting a vote?" And she said, "Well, my credentials are stated. I played basketball in college." She played women's basketball in college. She never played professionally in the WNBA. And so you should be able to, and those awards affect player salaries. So you should just have the right to vote because you played basketball at a high level in college, but never played in the WNBA. And then this whole thing turned that guy was being sexist because he criticized a woman. He didn't criticize her because she is a woman and she never obviously played in the NBA. But he's like, you never played basketball at a professional level. So what makes you qualified? It's because you're good on TV and you played college basketball? That's why? And she's still young. She was born in 1987. It's not like she's been covering the NBA for 20, 25 years like Doris Burke, who's seen decades of, basketball games. She's younger than I am. So to say that she deserves this, and then a whole other person was brought in to this conversation saying that beautiful people have a privilege. Jason Whitlock, he said beautiful people have a privilege above, as far as TV personalities go. Beauty is a privilege that is stronger than any other privilege. And so if you're attractive on TV, you get more, you receive more. And so, and obviously, if you're a good-looking person in life, things are going to come easier to you. And he didn't say that's the reason. He supported Maria Taylor since she's a good host. But people should be able to question your credibility. Like, especially when you got everything really quick. And if you can't handle criticism, then you're not, you don't deserve to be in that position, because that's everyone gets criticized. All the top analysts, they get criticized for whatever they say, and they take it and they move on. So Miss Taylor took it more as a personal attack that she's a woman, instead of the fact that, hey, you played college basketball and you've covered the NBA for a year. I don't think you should have a vote on any NBA awards until you're 5-10 years into your, career covering the sport. Just because ESPN is throwing every minority right now at hosting jobs to prove to their shareholders that they're woke, which is good in a way. But then if you, I guess, overcorrect it in such a way, but it was such an overcorrection as far as white guys go, to where you look at SportsCenter 10 years ago and every single person was white. You're like, hey, that's a little extreme. Could we? But now we're getting there should be a mix, not a huge overcorrection in one way. Or you shouldn't get a job just because of your skin color. It's like, oh, hey, she's black and she talks well. Put her on TV. Have her host an NBA show. What does she know about the NBA? Has she covered it for 5 years? No. Has she covered it for 10, 20 years? No, she hasn't. Oh, how long? She's actually covered it for a year. But she's really good on TV. Well, I would rather have somebody who knows the game, who does not leave Anthony Davis off the top 1, 2, or 3 team, the all-team NBA. Like, it's just, and I know a lot of media members, they should get more called out, but they should have some limit of experience. Just how the NBA has limits on their contracts based off of experience. You're in the league for 10 years, you're qualified to get more percentage of the team's cap, which leads you to have a better salary. This is a weird, and I can't believe that a guy brought up the fact that you're an attractive woman is a privilege, and how defensive women get about that. But then they also, it's those same women who criticize white men for having male white privilege. And then when they freak out, they're like, I earned everything I've gotten. And then when you bring up, yeah, you're beautiful and attractive, that's a privilege, you haven't earned 100%. They flip out. It's like, no. There's different types of privilege in this world. You have an advantage because, say, you're tall in basketball. That's a height privilege. Or if you're fat, just naturally fast. And of course you work at it. But you were just born naturally fast. Like, would LeBron James be in the NBA if he was 5'7"? No, he would not. Would he be great at something else? Probably yes. Just because of his work ethic. But would he have a huge advantage over everybody else because of his strength and size? Yes. Now, if he stopped working out and was lazy, of course. That height, there's people just as tall as him, but not as tall, big, strong, fast, and then also skilled. But he worked on most of all those things. But his size is God-given. The Lord Jesus given. But I'm going to end the podcast on another conundrum I had in my personal life. One thing, for my last podcast, I said, wasn't going to talk about this, but my sister was upset because I said she talked like a baby. And she called me selfish for, I don't know, speaking my feelings about my dad selling the house. And so I didn't intend for it to come off as mean-spirited. I like to joke around and kind of make fun of stuff. So I apologized to her. I was like, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, but you do talk like a baby sometimes. You use and it's fine. You're a grandma. It's fine. But it's something funny that I noticed. If you don't want me to, I won't bring it up anymore if that hurts your feelings. But also, in back of my head, I'm like, you know who I am. Don't listen to my podcast. That 2 people, and I shouldn't alienate 10% of my podcast because there's only 10 people that listen to it. It's like if my family and friends, if I insult them on here and they don't like it, there's not going to be much of an audience. But that's besides the point. I'm just trying to get good at getting better at talking, proving a point, staying on topic, which I'm terrible at, being entertaining, trying to be funny, learning how to talk off the top of my head. So this whole thing is for, and to have constructive, critical thoughts by myself, talking on both sides, debating myself. Just trying to talk for an hour. And certain people take things personal, and it's not personal. I disagree with it. It's a good idea that my dad sells that house. I think it's funny that my mom is always late for stuff, and I can call her out on her bullshit. That no matter what, if you tell her, hey, I need you here at noon, she will get there no later than 12:45. It's just who she is. She's always going to be a clutterer. She's always going to have crap in her house. And I love her for that. I don't love her for that, but I love her anyway. My sister, she says snacky wackies. Or she calls my father, who's 85, and she's in her 60s, she calls him daddy. And that's a little off-putting to me. It might be normal in other parts of the country. I don't know. But where I'm from, I don't call my father daddy. But then I'm not a woman. But I'm also not a 65-year-old woman. So just that kind of, I think it's funny, entertaining, interesting, a little weird, but we're all weird. So it's fine. I love you. If I criticize you, if I didn't care about you, I wouldn't talk about you. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But I had another different conundrum. my girlfriend, she had made plans with her sister, unbeknownst to me, for dinner at their house. And so I'm getting ready. She comes home. I'm getting ready to go work out, go stretch, get my body loose. And she tells me 20 minutes before that, hey, we're going to go to I'm going to go to my sister's. Oh, do you want to come for dinner? She gives me a 20 to 30 minute heads up. And I'm like, no, you didn't tell me before. And now, granted, I did pull this card because I didn't want to go. I wasn't in the mood. I wanted to go work out. I didn't want to go. I wasn't primed for a family gathering. I've met the sister before. She's great. She's good. She's a cook or chef. She's a chef. Probably shouldn't call a chef a cook, even though that's what they do. They cook food. But I'm not going to. Hopefully she doesn't hear this and then get upset at me for it. It's like, oh, what? You take fresh food and you make it hot and then you serve it to people. So you cook the food. No, yes, you do, but you're not a cook. Okay, then what are you? I'm a chef. Why are we using two different words that mean the same thing? Well, it's more elegant. It's a higher class. I'm going to separate myself from these lower people. I'm not an Applebee's cook. I'm a Olive Garden chef. It's like, what? You cook food. Now, her and I have not had this conversation, and we probably are going to have it. I like poking people. I like agitating people. But, yeah. But your significant other, your girlfriend, boyfriend, giving you a very short window, heads up, for a 2 to 2.5, 3 hour dinner with their family. It would be the sister, the husband, and then their daughter. That's a lot of energy. That's a lot to take on in such a short period of time. I wasn't prepared or ready, so I didn't go. And I didn't catch heat for it. And even the sister backed me up. And she made me lamb. She made me a little plate of lamb. And some other stuff. I haven't tried it yet. I'm going to have it tonight for dinner. I'll let you know how the lamb is on the next week's podcast. Thanks for listening. I appreciate the 2 to 3 people, again, who listen to my ramblings every week. Thank you. This is Chase Carter, and this has been the Chase Carter Concept Podcast. Thanks for listening. You got this shit knocking, bro.